Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to another week of Awaken and Align. I'm your host, Laura Chung. I am recording this on Moon Day, April 25th, 2022. And I really wanted to talk about eclipse season and the energies that are going on. But since this is a platform about storytelling, and this is how this whole podcast started, I also wanted to share some anecdotal stories just to give a little flavor, give a little boost to this episode. I just wanted to also reiterate the intention of this podcast and community, because this whole eclipse season and any eclipse season is really about endings and beginnings and massive change and transformation. So this podcast really started because I was traveling the world. I had just quit my corporate job and I was meeting people who were just doing different things, not necessarily having 9-to-5 jobs or following the status quo. And it was so inspiring to me at the time because like I said, just quit my job and I was kind of meandering and wandering about in this world. So it is truly a podcast first and foremost about storytelling, because when you hear other people's stories, especially when it's somebody who shares an identity, a body like yours, somebody who looks like you subconsciously and consciously believe that it's more possible for yourself. Spirituality and collective liberation. First, I want to define what collective liberation means for me. Because we have all been programmed since a very young age to seek out jobs, seek out situations, seek out relationships for safety and security. And I can only speak from my own personal experience because I am the daughter of immigrant parents. I feel that it definitely hindered me from exploring other avenues of creativity and other ways of living that was beyond just seeking security and safety. And so collective liberation for me starts at the individual level, when I'm more authentic and when I'm more truthful to who I am and to my soul's calling, and I share my story, then it gives other people the permission to do the same and the courage to do the same. And eventually, when enough of us follow our true calling and make this world a better place for all, that to me is collective liberation. When we go beyond the structures of white supremacy, colonialism, capitalism, patriarchy, all of the isms that have been oppressing us, all of us, everybody, then I really believe that, I'm an optimist, so I believe this is possible. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be doing this. I wouldn't even be speaking on Awaken and Align and the other podcasts that I co-host with Brittany Simone on the Work podcast. So that is my intention. I continue to do my own work, my own unlearning and learning. I am a dedicated student and teacher of different spiritual modalities and practices, as you all know. And first and foremost, I believe in magic. I believe in, obviously, the cosmos and astrology and energy work and all the different modalities that have been presented by my guests so far. So that's what I wanted to say first and foremost. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. So I wanted to share some of the findings that I have been researching over the course of a couple of years now on the North Node and the South Node, because we really have to start there when we talk about eclipses. So I wanted to find a layman's definition of the North Node and the South Node. And I actually really like the Astro Twins. They have an amazing website called astrostyle.com, and I love their Instagram because they weave in pop culture. But I'm getting this definition from their website. So, the North and South Node. Okay. In astrology, your life purpose is encoded in the North Node and South Node of the moon. So when we talk about, okay, these are my words now. If we talk about the ecliptic are points in which the moon and the sun cross over each other. So the lunar nodes are directly opposite each other in the chart. They aren't planets, but rather mathematical points on the chart that fall into opposite zodiac signs. Bottom line, the North Node represents our karmic paths and the lessons we came here to learn, or the language we are learning to speak. The South Node reveals the challenges and gifts we bring in from previous lifetimes. Okay, so I've actually read up a lot about the North and South Node, and I'm going to give you my take on all of the readings and my own personal experience from getting readings from astrologers and also studying this. So depending on what system of astrology you've been learning from, each system will have a different, I guess, definition of the importance of the North and South Node. When I got my Vedic astrology chart read by a Vedic astrologer, she definitely prefaced the importance of the North and South Node in my specific reading from this specific astrologer. Now, within Vedic astrology, there's so many different lineages of study. There's so many different practitioners who practice Vedic astrology. I would say every Western astrologer that I've had a reading from, both Hellenistic and modern, have also prefaced the importance of the North and South Node. But when I listened to Chris Brennan's astrology podcast, he actually did this entire episode about the origins of the North and South Node, and there wasn't like a definitive answer of the origins of it, but it became more popular and more important over time. So I've also heard a lot of modern astrologers say that the North Node is like where we want to go towards, and the South Node is something that we want to release. And I also believed that for a really long time until I started meditating on my own about the North and South Node within my own chart. And this is what I came up with. And so this is just my own feeling about it. And so take it with a grain of salt, like everything else. I believe with everything in our astrological chart, everything is karmic. It is our soul's blueprint. And what I mean by that, what I mean by karma, is that our souls are a part of us that is infinite. It's like Newton's first law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So in essence, our soul lives on beyond the body. And so I also find it interesting that time is a very 3D concept, right? We have to have a linear understanding of time, past, present, and future. And thank goodness, because it would be very confusing if we didn't have that kind of understanding of time. So for me, everything is spiritual. That's why I list spirituality on the bio of Awaken and Align's Instagram bio, and why it's in everything, because to me everything has a spirit, everything has an energy, everything lives on. So in essence, I don't just believe that the North and South Node are these karmic points. I think our entire chart is. I think our entire chart is our soul's print on our past, present, and future. Now, when I look at a chart and I look at someone's natal chart and I look at my own chart, the whole thing is that in itself a whole story. It's not just the North Node is going to tell you what your purpose is in this lifetime, and the South Node is going to tell you where you came from and what you're releasing. I also don't see the North and South Node in that way anymore. I used to think that the North Node, Rahu, the South Node, Ketu, were things that you had to, like, for instance, I've heard a lot of astrologers, and I believe this for a long time too, where the South Node is something that you need to release and completely like let go of. But now I see it more of an integration of both. Yes, the North Node is out of your comfort zone, is something that you're learning. It's not necessarily easy either, whereas the South Node is where you came from. It's something that you're familiar with, but it's not about completely shutting out your South Node and moving towards your North Node. It's integrating both. It's understanding where you've come from and integrating the lessons of your past and using those lessons so that you can understand the lessons of the North Node. So for example, like I said, I'm going to use myself as the anecdotal case. I have a South Node in Capricorn and a North Node in Cancer. And for a really long time, I was like, and told by other astrologers that I had to completely let go of my Capricorn, that's what I came in with from previous lifetimes. I have to stop being so stoic, so ambitious, career orientated. I need to move towards being more Cancerian, being nurturing, being a mother. And the thing is I agree with all of that. And I also believe that I need to integrate the lessons of the South Node in Capricorn, which is I'm really comfortable with working hard. I'm really comfortable climbing the proverbial corporate ladder. I'm really comfortable getting that bag, climbing that mountain. I'm really comfortable with all the things that Capricorn has to offer. Not so much the Cancerian side of nurturing myself, of being more in the emotional body and being the mother type. Definitely not. But I would say with age too, it depends on where you are in your life. With age, it's gotten easier because of my own journey and of understanding the different energies. And I do believe that it's not one end of the spectrum. I think everything in the wheel, the astrological wheel, is like you want to get to the middle where it's wholeness, where it's not just one or the other. So that's my own personal take on the North and South Node. I do believe that our South Node can reveal to us our gifts, our comfort zones, where we innately are really gifted, and understanding what planet rules that sign and what house it's in will give you ideas of like what you need to integrate. And also every sign has a light and a shadow, but I do believe that we came in with that energy for a reason. We came in that energy because maybe in a previous lifetime we were expressing the shadow aspect of, let's say for me, Capricorn. Maybe I was really wealthy and I was greedy and I wasn't giving. So in this lifetime, I need to learn the light attributes of Capricorn and being that really embodied, really wise elder type with the light attributes of Capricorn. And then also moving more towards nurturing myself and being more emotional and understanding my emotions. So also I believe the Capricorn Cancer axis is all about understanding that there's more to life than just working. And that's something that at the age of 40, I'm finally understanding. So again, this also goes with what phase of life are you in? How old are you? What life experiences have you gone through? Are you aware of some of your shadows? Are you doing the work basically? And since I've been doing the work, because when I had my nodal return, so a nodal return happens every 18 years when the nodes of the moon go back to its original place at your birth. So it happens when you're 18, when you're 36, and then I'm trying to do the math in my head, 54. And then you'll have a nodal reversal every 9 years where the opposite is true. So just not recently, but when I turned 36, it was 2017 to 18. Oh no, 2018 to 2020. So it was recently. I had my nodal return, and that's when I quit my corporate job. That's when I started this podcast. That's when I started another go at entrepreneurship. And my whole life changed because of those eclipses. So that's why I wanted to talk about this, because eclipses always are the catalyst for change. And I've tried to track most of the eclipses that really changed my life, because obviously I didn't study astrology my entire life, but hindsight is 2020. So when I can look back and look at the timing of when things happen, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was during eclipse season that happened. So just look at where your north node and your south node is. What sign is it in? What house is it in? It'll give you a lot of understanding of your soul's calling, like what lessons are you supposed to integrate? Again, for example, my south node in Capricorn is in my second house of money, of resources that I make up. And then my north node's in Cancer in my 8th house. So a lot of the themes of my life and trying to understand the axes about money, energetic exchange, about worth, my resources versus someone else's resources. But in the sign of Capricorn and Cancer, they're both cardinal signs. One is Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So it's not surprising that Capricorn in my second house, I'm a pretty frugal person. I don't just spend my money on anything and everything. And the north node being in Cancer in my 8th, I meant to work with the moon. I meant to really get down and dirty with my emotions. I meant to hold space for other people, but first and foremost, I meant to nurture myself. And really, again, this is all just understanding that I've just recently come to. So don't worry if you still don't understand, because I really believe that you figure this out on a journey. It's not like we're meant to know everything all the time. And I was just talking to my mom about this, because she keeps, I mean, it's not an accident that she keeps telling me this, but she's been saying that if she had known about marriage and having children, she would not have gotten married at such a young age. She would have waited. And I told her, I said, of course, like when we know better, we do better. When we have more information, we have the agency to make changes for our lives. But there's no use in regretting, because you only had information at the time that you had it. So the only thing we can do moving forward is just trying the best that we can and trusting in our own timing and our own lives and like the clues and the breadcrumbs that spirit leaves for us. Trust me, if I had known a lot of the stuff that I know today, I would have done so many things differently, but I'm not gonna sit here and regret every decision that I've ever made just because I didn't know anything. Again, hindsight is 2020. So in this lifetime, obviously, I have to learn about work-life balance, about not taking myself too seriously, being more in touch with my emotions, and knowing that there's more to life than just working. And, you know, growing up with immigrant parents, like I said, who immigrated here in their 20s, trying to make a life for my sister and I, growing up in New York, growing up as an Aries, like all of these things contributed to me being hyper masculine and career oriented. But now I'm seeing that there's just more to life than that, that life is meant to be enjoyed. And with the South Node in my second house too, I feel this like lack feeling if I'm not doing anything. Like my worth is tied to my level of productivity. And if I'm not making money, I suck. If I'm not productive, I'm lazy. If I'm not making money, then what am I worth? What is like the worth of my life? But that's my own journey that I need to release and integrate the, like I said, the lighter sides of Capricorn, which is, to me, Capricorn, well, no, it is a yin sign. All earth signs are yin. It's all about trusting. It's all about gaining wisdom and being that wise elder that one day when I'm in my senior age, that I get to bestow this knowledge onto the newer generations, the younger generations. Okay, so now that I've got that out of the way, we have our North and South Node in our natal chart, like what we were born with, but then collectively every 18 months the nodes change. So between 2020 and 2022, the North Node was in Gemini and the South Node was in Sagittarius. And that time, those 18 months, was I mean, the themes were so wide, and so I'm trying to like summarize the themes. The North Node Gemini was ruled by Mercury, and the South Node Sagittarius was ruled by Jupiter. So it was a lot about our belief systems, knowledge, communication, and we saw that really playing out collectively. Like, what did we believe? Who to believe? What was the truth? There was a lot of conspiracy. There was a lot of just like weird shit going on. And now for the next 18 months, so the nodes changed January 19th of 2022, so just 4 months ago, until July 17th, 2023, we have the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio. The North Node in Taurus is ruled by Venus, and the South Node in Scorpio is ruled by Mars. And that is the classical ruler of Scorpio. They don't use the modern rulers on the nodes. And I find this to be very interesting. And I think I've spoken about this a couple of times in my YouTube channel, but I really think we are going to have this mystery school, this understanding at a deeper energetic level about the yin, the yang, the solar, the lunar, the feminine, masculine, because of the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio, so Venus and Mars. And we began this year with a Venus retrograde in Capricorn, and it started last year in 2021, but then it officially ended this year. And then we're going to end this year, 2022, with a Mars retrograde in Gemini. So we began this year with really understanding our relationship and our systems and our structures around money, around beauty, around our relationships. And then the end of this year with Mars retrograde in Gemini. Again, Gemini is a sign of duality. It's the sign of the twins. We're going to have this interesting understanding of Mars in that sign in retrograde, which is a masculine yang sign. Then earlier this year, I didn't write the dates down. We had a Venus and Mars conjunction, and they were kind of playing together in Aquarius. And then Venus left Aquarius, and that besiegement between Mars and Saturn, and went into Pisces, where she loves to be. So there was definitely something going on, a lesson there between Mars and Venus. And there's going to be a longer story about our relationship to Taurus, fixed earth, yin energy, to the very emotional depth of the South Node being in Scorpio, which is a fixed water sign. So I just have to say, Taurus and Scorpios, Taurus, Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising signs are going to be in for a treat. And I say that with compassion and grace, because when I had the South Node transiting my first house the last 18 months, it was a trip. It was so life-altering and life-changing because it was in my first house, an angular house. So if you are a Scorpio or Taurus rising, my heart is with you. I am with you. Was it easy? No. But was it worth it? Yes. Because what it did was completely change my perception of myself, first and foremost, my relationships, the way I see life. Again, like I said, I just turned 40 and I have this deeper understanding about myself and about my life. And I don't think that would have happened without these transits, without my life kind of turning upside down. But in a good way, in a good way. The North Node in Taurus, wow. It's going to be very interesting because Taurus talks about money, talks about our embodiment, our body, the earth, Mother Earth. It also talks about food. It's a very sensual sign. And if you observe social media and the news, like, these topics are already happening, you know? We're talking about food shortages, we're talking about the climate crisis, we're talking about all of these things have moved to the forefront of our conversation. The South Node in Scorpio. Listen, Scorpio is already an intense sign. It's the underworld. It is like the root. It looks at the underlying root cause of things. So Taurus rules the mouth and the jaw and the throat, and Scorpio rules the sex organs and like where we poop stuff out. So if you think about that, what are you feeding yourself? Food, right? And not just food, but media. What are you watching? Who are you surrounding yourself with? It's very, like I said, embodied sign. And then what are you like pooping out? What are you releasing? Scorpio, South Node. We are in officially the United States of America's Pluto return, which the first exact conjunction happened, I believe, in February. Now, February seems like such a long time ago. And the second one will be in July sometime, because Pluto is going to go retrograde this week on April 29th. So right before the solar eclipse in Taurus. And what that means collectively for us is we must look at our shadow. We must look at the hidden depths of the root cause of things. And for the United States, it's how this country was, quote unquote, founded. It's our history with the genocide of the indigenous people of this land. It's our history with the enslavement of people from Africa. It's all of the really, really violent and problematic things that happen that nobody, no generation has truly faced. And these topics need to at least be addressed and talked about in order for us to not only talked about, but like transmuted and doing forgiveness work and doing all of the things that you would do individually. Just also we have to do it collectively in order for us to heal and move forward, because the United States of America is going through its dark night of the soul, if I may say so myself. And if you want to learn more about that, you should listen to Divine Harmony's episode on the Work podcast. I'll try to remember to link it down below on the Pluto return and Aries? Yeah, Aries and Aries. Super fascinating episode. So the North Node being in Taurus, I believe, is more being embodied, moving slower. I don't have the book with me. It's right over there. My Grandmother's Hands by Resmaa Menakem. I just took Resmaa's workshop in somatic abolitionism. And one of the things he says, and he repeats throughout the book, is in order for us to heal our trauma, we must move slower, because trauma is, and our triggers are reflexive, and for us to discern what it is and the information behind our triggers, we must slow down and we must be in our bodies. And I think that is the invitation for the North Node in Taurus, is to move slower, which, if I may say so myself, as an Aries sun and mutable rising Sagittarius and an Aquarian moon, it's not easy. I don't like it at all. I like to move fast. I like to get things going. I'm a New Yorker. I like to get shit done. And to move slowly and intentionally, it feels so, I would say I feel unsafe. But I think that's the whole point, is to feel safe in your body, in the moment, in the present moment, because there's one thing I know about manifestation, it's that it happens in the present moment. I also love that the North Node is in Taurus and it's a Venusian quality, because the way in which to mitigate some of this harsher lessons of the South Node being in Scorpio is to be in the lighter aspects of the Taurus energy. So it's being sensual, joy, pleasure, good food, good comforting food, beautiful things. I've really been getting into flowers and herbalism and learning about herbalism and learning about flowers. I've really been spending a lot of time outside. I mean, when have I not been since the panorama? But really more so now, because when I look outside and I'm in nature, I'm reminded of how abundant nature is, and it's a universal law. There is no such thing as scarcity. But it's so hard to think that way when everything in our lives begins with not enough. If you think about, like, the first thing you do when you wake up is, I didn't get enough sleep. And then every messaging that you hear along your day is, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not thin enough, there's not enough time. Oh my God, that's a huge one. There's just not enough. And so what I've been doing is I've been repeating to myself, there's so much time. There's more than enough time. There's plenty of time. There's so much money and abundance everywhere. Everything is growing. And especially here in New York, the Northern Hemisphere, everything's like flowering and like blooming. And I just keep looking outside and repeating to myself, there's more than enough. There's so much love and abundance everywhere, because sometimes, especially with the climate crisis and the doomsday messaging of some of these scientists, if you don't remind yourself that there is more good happening in this world than bad, then you would just give up. And you would just say, fuck this, you know, and that leads to more numbing and consumption that's not necessary for our planet. Okay, so let me get off my rant a little bit. So I just wanted to, I'm also trying to talk slower so that I'm not fumbling my words and that I'm not saying like and so. So how do you think I'm doing? I've been having some very gnarly transits. I'm sure you've heard over the last couple of episodes. I've been sharing that I'm having some pretty gnarly transits in my chart, but I don't want to blame everything on my astrology, on my astrological chart, but all of these planets in Pisces is making me super tired and like in a fog, and I'm just not feeling myself. So bear with me as I gather. I had to literally write stuff down. Normally I just channel and I just get into this moment as an Aries sun, but I have been so foggy and so sleepy that I have to write it down so I stay on track. Okay, here we go. Like I said, the nodes of the moon go back to its original position every 18 years and a nodal reversal every 9 years. So right now, the north node being in Taurus and the south node being in Scorpio, this is going to still be around until July 17, 2023. So for another good year, a year and a couple of months. So this is a time where these eclipses are going to be triggering your Taurus and Scorpio axes, whatever house that it's in. And also I would say Leo, and if you're Leo rising or an Aquarius rising, or if you have planets in those fixed signs, it's going to be triggering those points. So 18 years ago, the North Node was in Taurus, April 15th, 2003 to December 26th, 2004. So just think back to those 18 months, 18 years ago. What were you doing? What changed in your life? Because that will give you an idea of some of the themes of this eclipse season and this, you know, transit in your life. They might not be exactly the same, but they will be triggering the same houses, and so it'll give you some clues as to what to expect this time. 9 years ago, 9 years ago was, I'm sorry, that was 9 years ago. No, that was 18 years ago, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. 9 years ago, the South Node was in Taurus, August 30th, 2012 to February 18th, 2014. So that was 9 years ago, the South Node was in Taurus. Same houses, but different. It was a nodal reversal. So instead of the North Node being in Taurus, the South Node was in Taurus. Same houses, so the same themes might have been happening, but since the North Node was in Scorpio, you would have been moving more towards Scorpio themes and releasing the Taurus themes. So now coming back 9 years later with the North Node in Taurus and the solar eclipse happening on April 30th, 2022, you are officially starting a new chapter in that area, because a solar eclipse, it's a partial solar eclipse, is a new beginning in that area of your life. That's really like, if we're thinking about this portal, we're officially in the portal now, but it was starting a month ago, and then it's gonna be open until 6 months. They usually say that for solar eclipses, it's 6 months, and lunar eclipses 2 weeks. So, you know, it's not necessarily gonna happen on April 30th, whatever is gonna happen, but just look out for, you know, a new beginning or a sudden unexpected message or a sudden, unexpected event to occur. And sudden for some people is a good thing, and for other people, it's a bad thing. Personally, I don't think that there's enough surprises in our lives, like happy surprises. I wish there were more, but that's just me. I love spontaneity and I love novelty and I love like serendipity, but some people don't like that. So that's why, you know, astrology is like the weather report. You want to prepare yourself for these types of events. Before I get into this solar eclipse, I just wanted to give some anecdotal, my own personal experience with these North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio 18 years ago, and then 9 years ago, what was happening in my life. So 18 years ago, when the North Node was in Taurus, so this same exact axes, April 15th, 2003 to December 26th, 2004, I graduated college. I graduated in May of 2004, so that was a huge life-altering experience. 2003, so it happened earlier. It was January to, I would say, June. So like a month after, 2 months after the start of this North Node in Taurus, I studied abroad in Spain. I left my home for the first time, lived in a foreign country for the first time. And so for me, the North Node in Taurus is my 6th house, and the South Node in Scorpio is my 12th house. And so like living in a foreign country for the first time was definitely life-altering. It was, yeah, just completely life-altering, made me see this world in such a different way, made me release, because the South Node being in my 12th house, that 12th house is about your fears. It really made me release a lot about like being off on my own, not being in the care of my parents, inserting myself into situations where I was not in my comfort zone at all. But I have to say that this is a caveat. I like being in situations like that. I have a high tolerance for change and novelty and new situations. So I don't know if I'm the best example of this, but it was a huge life-altering experience. And then that summer, I shared a beach house with my friends from home in Belmar. I fell in love that summer with one of my friends. We were friends for 3 years, and then I guess we always had feelings for each other, but I looked over at him and I was like, I think I like you. So that was a huge life-altering thing that happened that summer, and we ended up being together for 6 years, so that was a big deal. And then, like I said, I graduated college January of 2004, so big things happened in those 18 months. I'm trying to think of anything else that was big, but those things definitely stood out to me. And then 9 years ago, when the South Node was in Taurus and the North Node was in Scorpio, so August 30th, 2012, February 18th to 2014, a lot happened these years. I'm like not even kidding. So the 6th and 12th house for me, and I'm just giving you the houses so that you know like that some of these things have nothing to do with, some of the things that have happened to me, like the big monumental things, have nothing to do with the actual position of the house. But I have, again, my Jupiter in Scorpio is in my 12th house, which is my ruler of, Sagittarius. So whatever happens to Jupiter, it's like very life altering. It's huge. And I just have Chiron in Taurus in my 6th, but there were probably other things going on in the sky that triggered these huge life moments. But when I looked back at these dates, I was like, wow, like a lot happened. So 2012 was the year I turned 30, but that was back in March. So, but I just want to say, like, 2012 was a huge year for me because I turned 30, and 2013 was a huge year, and I was having eclipses. I remember one eclipse happened conjunct my Jupiter, and there was like other stuff going on that I won't like report all the planets and the aspects to you, but that was when my ex and I broke up. Not the first ex-boyfriend, but a different one. We broke up like right after it started in Scorpio season, but it really ended I think during Sagittarius season or Capricorn season. But I looked at the planets and I was like, oh my gosh, it happened with the North Node eclipse in Jupiter, and Jupiter in some astrological texts and teachers, also for a woman who's in a heterosexual relationship, Jupiter can be your partner, can be your man. So that definitely made sense. And then 2014, January 2014 was when I moved, or no, it was like January, February was when I moved into my own place for the first time, because I had broken up with my ex and I needed to move out. And that was also the time I went back to private equity because I needed a full-time job for financial stability. And that's also January 2014 was when Venus was in retrograde the last time in Capricorn, which, you know, like I said, Capricorn rules my second house of finances. So because I had broken up with my ex and we used to live together, it shook up my stability, my financial stability, my home, and it was a huge cataclysmic event that happened in my life. So I'm just giving you this anecdotal information to tell you that just because, you know, eclipses can happen in other houses that don't have anything to do with like the 6th and 12th, has nothing to do with my love life, has nothing to do with my home, but those eclipses triggered other points of my chart and other planets at the time, other transits, and my own personal chart, to where it ended up being these huge monumental changes in my life. So this eclipse season, I don't know, but I feel like it has something to do with my love life because, again, Venus rules relationships. Mars is also relationship. Mars is more of the primal, raw, masculine energy. Venus is more of the union, the binding energy. So I think that given the themes of the other eclipses and the other 9 years ago and 18 years ago, where there was a start of a relationship and then an ending of another, new jobs, and moving homes, again, like I can only guess based on the other transits happening currently in the sky, which I'll get into in a moment, of what these themes are. But if you are curious, I would do, you know, the same investigation for yourself. Like, look at your chart, look at what was happening 9 years ago and what was happening 18 years ago. But basically what was happening 9 years ago, we are finishing that chapter this weekend and we're starting something new. Thank heavens. So let's talk about, wow, I talk so much. We're already at 49 minutes. Okay. So let's talk about the energies this week because, wow, changes. If you are uncomfortable with change, it's really too bad because things are going to change. And I personally like change because I always want to grow and I always want to up level. but I give compassion to those who don't like it, especially the fixed signs. Fixed signs are Taurus again, Aquarius, Leo, and Scorpio. So if you are a fixed sign, my sympathies are with you, but we are a change in here. Okay, so yes. So, oh my God, I have to stop saying so. What I love about this solar eclipse, and out of all the eclipses, this happens to be my favorite one. The eclipse is happening on April 30th at 4:30, is it 4:30? 4:30 p.m. Eastern time at 10 degrees of Taurus. And a partial solar eclipse, right? It's partial, it's not total. So some things you'll be able to have awareness over and some things you won't. But a solar eclipse is a new moon. And back in the day, in ancient times, they saw this as kind of a malefic event. If you think about it, back in the day when they didn't understand the geometry and the ecliptical and how the sun and moon move with each other, if it's in the middle of the day and there's an eclipse and you don't see the sun anymore, the sun, which gives life and is a symbol of life, then yeah, you're gonna look at the eclipse being like, what the fuck is happening? Are we dying? So back in the day, they didn't see it as a fortuitous, lucky event. And I think that it really shows how in certain practices of astrology, like the Vedic practices and also even Hellenistic astrology, they see the North and South Node and eclipses as not benefic events. They saw them kind of as unfortunate events. But I don't see them as unfortunate events. I see them more as, I think it's Carrie Underwood that sings this song, but Jesus Take the Wheel. And I could also see why back in the day our ancestors didn't like it, because when you are trying to survive, which most of our ancestors were trying to do, consistency and knowing what was happening was better than not knowing, right? When something happens suddenly, it throws you off kilter, and it's seen as like, even if it's good, sometimes you don't really understand, like when you have no preparation for the things that are happening. Now I see change and things that happen suddenly sometimes to be benefic, because we are so stuck sometimes, and not everybody, but just generally, we are more comfortable with the known than the unknown. And sometimes we hang on so dearly because we don't know how to change. And so this is like the universe, spirit divine, whoever you pray upon, or whatever you believe in, taking the wheel and saying, this is happening for your highest good. Now, there's things that happen that I cannot explain that I think is fucked up, like wars and like all the horrible things that happen in this world. And I don't think that a lot of people deserve that shit. So I'm not going to sit here and say everything is like meant to be. But I will say that sometimes events in our life that we see as like horrible or as endings or as like, why has this happened to me? Sometimes are the best things to happen to us. And I can give you so many stories of me personally going through that. Like at the time, especially during eclipses in the past, I'd be like, why is this happening to me? I'm a good person. But now, sitting back, hindsight being 2020, I'm like, thank goodness that happened, because I wouldn't have had the courage to do it on my own. I wouldn't have had the courage to walk away. I wouldn't have had the courage to break up with this person or quit my job or X, Y, and Z. I would have stayed because of loyalty, because I didn't want to let anybody down, because I was afraid of the unknown. And I think eclipses give us an opportunity to surrender. Again, not all of us are going to know why or why something is happening at the time, but that's the big thing with eclipses and eclipse season, is to trust in what's happening. So at the time of the eclipse, the sun and the moon together at 10 degrees of Taurus, it's going to be conjunct Uranus, which is in Taurus. And Uranus is that planet of sudden change, of like sudden epiphanies. And again, not everybody's gonna like their sudden event or their sudden thing that's gonna happen. So really surrendering, being careful too, like look at what aspects are going on with your own personal chart and in what house, and just be careful because this can also lead to accidents, obviously. So we want to look at what the ruler of the moon is doing at the time of the eclipse. And may I say, this is so lovely. So the ruler of the moon is Venus, and Venus right now is in Pisces in her exaltation. Venus loves being in Pisces. And we also in astrology have something called the exaltation degree, where Venus is like in her happy fucking spot at 27 degrees of Pisces, and she happens to be together there with Jupiter, which is the ruler of Pisces, and Neptune is there as well. And we just have a huge stellium of planets right now in Pisces. So what does this mean? The ruler of the moon is in Pisces, which is in one of her favorite signs, her exaltation degree, which is super powerful, super potent with Jupiter. So whatever sudden things might happen or be revealed to you or might end suddenly, just trust and surrender that something is literally right behind it, something new, something better for you. I'm gonna quote my favorite Newton's first law of thermodynamics. I quote this in every session, every podcast almost. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So when something ends, when something leaves, like a relationship, like a job, like something that you didn't want to end sometimes, but you have to trust and surrender to the fact that something better is along the way. And if some of you are listening to this or watching this and you're like, I've been calling something in, I've been trying to manifest something, but it's not here, like what the fuck? First of all, a lot of people don't believe, like a lot of witches and a lot of astrologers don't believe you should be manifesting on the eclipse season. I also believe in that. I feel like this is a time to surrender and just allow the universe to work her magic. But I feel this is even more of an opportunity for you to just sit back, surrender, allow the universe to clear out what needs to be cleared out so that the new thing can start, the new thing can take shape. And you're not going to necessarily know that again. It might have happened already for you a month ago or a couple weeks ago, and maybe it's not going to happen for another couple weeks or a month from now or 2 months from now, but just be aware. Look out for the signs and synchronicities. It might take time to actually see the growth of what's happening, but it is going to grow because it's in the sign of Taurus, which is an earth sign. It's fixed. So know that whatever is growing is going to take root and grow very sturdily. Steady, you know what I mean. On the same day or a day before, as I mentioned, Pluto stations retrograde, which means that Pluto is like standing still in the sky at the late aneretic degrees of Capricorn. So something is happening there. And then on the 29th, Mercury enters its home sign of Gemini, and we're officially in the shadow before Mercury goes into retrograde. And on April 30th, Venus will conjunct Jupiter, as I mentioned, at that beautiful exaltation degree at 27 degrees. So, to sum this up, change is necessary. And like I mentioned when I was going through my spiel about the North Node, it's not a place where we feel comfortable, this new place we're going to, because we've never seen it before. Even though I said the same themes might show up, it's in a different form. This is a place where we have to get outside of our comfort zone And so in order for us to be pushed towards the North Node, we need help. We need spirit. We need the divine. We need divine intervention sometimes. And that also means that we have to clear out our shadow. We have to look at our shadow. We have to look at our roots. We have to look at the root cause, Scorpio, South Node. And the next eclipse is, I believe, May 15th. Let me look and make sure, which is going to be a total eclipse in Scorpio. Yes, it's May 15th. Well, May 16th, depending on where you are in this world, a total lunar eclipse in Scorpio. So really, like, that to me, that eclipse is like, we are ending shit. We are like letting go. We are releasing. And really, eclipses are meant for us to go on this journey of surrender. And I've heard so many of my teachers say that over the course of many years, surrender, surrender, surrender. But when you actually have to do it, it's not easy, because you want to grasp on to the things that you know. And it's also, there's a grieving process when you surrender and you let go. Like people that you usually feel comfortable with, and people that you love, and people that aren't necessarily even bad people. They're just not who you want to become and the energy that you want to become and integrate into. So sometimes this is like a lot harder than people just make it out to be. Surrender, release, whatever. And I know I say that a lot. But how I practice the art of surrendering is trusting. Even when I cannot see what's happening, I trust in my inner knowing, my inner compass. And I was just telling my mom just before I came on to do this episode, I said, I'm 40 years old, I am single, and I don't know why. There's no rational reason why. There's no evidence. There's no scientific proof of what I feel inside. But I trust spirit. I trust my own divine plan, my own timing so much that I know that whoever is meant for me in terms of a soulmate, or if you believe in a twin flame, or just a person, my divine counterpart, whoever he is, I know he is out there looking for me too. What I seek is seeking me too. What I want wants me too. I don't know where he is. I don't know who he is, but I just know it. I feel it. And I don't see it, but I know it. And that's how much trust I have. So I don't give a fuck if people look at me and they say, oh, poor Laura, it's okay. Like, you're going to find your person, you know? Or people look at me and think I'm a spinster, or like, what's wrong with her? Why is she still not married with kids? Or she lives with her parents, or any fucking thing. And maybe that comes with age. And maybe I've just been through so much stuff in my life at this point that I just really don't give a fuck what other people think, because I've earned these stripes. I've earned these wrinkles on my face. But I have so much trust, because trust was built over time. Because all of the obstacles I've been through, all of the failure, quote unquote failures, all of the heartbreak, it built confidence in me. And that's what life is all about. And I love this quote. Jennifer Garner is exactly 10 years older than me. She just turned 50. She's also an Aries. And I'm going to butcher her quote, but she said, when you're waiting for the job, the partner, the wedding, the big career move, that's actually your life. And it's so true. Our life, in between the big milestones, in between the big breaks and the big monumental things like a wedding, a child, a graduation, the living in between is actually life. The ups and the downs, the ebbs and the flows, the fear and the hope, all of that in between is life. And so for me, slowing down and appreciating everything, even when I'm scared, even when I'm like, what the fuck is my life? Because I'm still living with my parents. No, but that's a whole other separate episode. I'm so grateful to be here. I just told my mom, see, I'm going off on a tangent. My Mercury in Pisces is active right now. My mom just came home and I said, I really manifested this because I was a latchkey kid growing up. My parents were never home. And all I ever wanted was for my mom to be home when I got home from school, or here when I woke up. She worked like very strange hours. So my sister and I would have to take care of ourselves in the morning, and then we come to an empty house at night, and we'd have our garage door opener, we'd let ourselves in, we'd make ourselves dinner, we did all the laundry, and we really were, I don't think that would be allowed these days, but we really did take care of ourselves. And all I wanted was a mom to be there to hug us when we got home, make us food, because it felt comfortable for me. I wanted that so desperately and never had that, and now I have it now at the age of, I started living here again the age of 38 to 40. And I said to my mom, I'm like, it's so ironic that I tried to manifest this for so many years, and I finally got it at this age when I don't really need that. And she said, you just never know like how God, how spirit works. And she said that she manifested it too, because she always wished that my sister and I would move back home and we would all live under the same roof together, because she has so much guilt that she never got to stay home with us. And so we manifested each other, and it took a panorama to do that, but at the same time we were able to recuperate that lost time. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, like I said. So this is all to say, you just don't know what's going to happen. Just stay true to who you are, believe in yourself, have faith. Faith is a muscle, and the whole universe can open up to you. It really can when you just believe. So I thank you so much for staying with me. I hope you learned something. Please let me know if this resonated with you. Let me know where your North Node and South Node is, in which house. How is this eclipse season affecting you, this Pisces stellium, anything at all. I love hearing your comments. I love reading your comments. And I'm just so grateful for this beautiful community. And I will see you next time.